75 pixels. The reason being is I just want a small space within there for our header. And then also, oops, let me like this and put it in between my curly braces. Make sure that that takes place. Give it a little space there. And then let's go ahead and give it a background color right now of a pretty, I think it's pretty blue. I'm going to go ahead and I happen to know from my hex codes that it is this one right here. And make sure there are 6. Hex means 6, so that means 6 letters or numbers. Don't forget your semicolons. And then I'm going to save that and then go in and see if that definitely did. It's not blue, it's gray. Well, we can go in and change that too. We can change that color in a later moment. But what we want to do next is let's go ahead into our style sheet and style our, I'm going to move this over first. Let's keep this in line so that we don't get confused by our coding. Let's go ahead and style an H1 tag, and with there, because this isn't a division and it is a tag, we don't have to put in a hashtag. So let's go ahead and with the heading, I want to go ahead and pad this a little bit, because if you look, you can see how it's just bumped up against the edge there. Let's go ahead and put some padding. What it does is it pads this area right here, what's inside. So I'm going to go ahead and put in padding. And you can just do a general padding and say 20 pixels, let's say. But what that does is it pads it all the way around. Top, right, bottom, left. And we could do that, but not bad. Maybe we should just stick with padding all around, because what it does is it puts padding all the way around this space. I was just going to do padding top and padding left, but this is not a bad place to be. Okay, the other thing too is I'd like to designate a font for my website. And the way that I do that is I can do that at the top, meaning at one of the parent tags, the major tags here, or I could do it individually, but this means that if I put it into my body tag, then it's going to have that font for the entire website, use that font for the entire website, unless I designate it differently. So at some point, if I want to change my font, I can go into a tag and change it specifically. So right now we want to use font-family : you recall. I'm going to use Courier. I'm kind of in a Courier type of mood. Don't forget that semicolon, Command S. And I'm not going to specify size because it can be of all shapes and sizes. So if I hit that, you can see that it changes my font. And from here on out, it will keep that font, again, until I designate it differently. So let us continue. So we've got our header, and we've got our wrapper. So now what we want to do is we want to make a nav bar. Now I'm not going to place my nav bar division inside of my header, because what I've done is I've told the browser that this is the beginning of the header and this is the end. And I don't want to have the two be inside each other's tags, because I want to designate a beginning and an end. So I'm going to go in, and after this div tag, I'm going to go in and announce that I'm going to make a nav bar equals. And I'm going to call my nav bar. You can call your divs anything you want, from Bobby Sue to Lollipop or whatever, but it's good to keep specific on what you're going to name your divisions, because then it's easy to read your code and other people can see too what you're talking about if they're looking at your code. So with this nav bar, I'm going to just create navigation across this area right here. So what I'm going to do is I need to designate some links. So let's go ahead and begin. So all I have to do is just start. What I could do is put this into a p tag, But why not style it this way by just going in for it? Let's just cut to the chase. So what I want to do is name these, what I'm going to name my other web pages that this will link to. And they're all going to stay local, meaning they're all going to stay in the same folder. So let's begin. I'm going to make a home link. So let's go ahead and name this one index.html, because that's what the beginning page will always be. And I want to name this home. And then don't forget to close that. And then I can go in and do another one. And my next one is going to be my about link. I want to go ahead and put an about link, so it's about me. And then you want to do the same. So I can say about or about me. And then close that. And then let's continue. href equals. And the next one I want to make is, I'm going to create one that says my favorites. And I'm going to specify in that page what are my favorite things. And don't forget to put that, have something to click on there. So my favorites, and close that tag, and then a href equals contact. You don't really have to put anything in contact except maybe, I mean, you would probably want to put in a web, an email address, but you can put a fake one in. This is just for fun right now, so I'm going to say contact me /a. Okay, so let's take a look. Command S. Let's go in and refresh, and there it is. There is our nav bar, but it needs to be spaced out, and we also need to designate that. Let's go ahead and put a color in there to designate that this is indeed a navigation bar. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back into my style sheet, and let's go ahead and say style the A tags, the links. I'm going to go ahead and put padding on it so that it drops down, and here again I can put in padding all around it, and I can specify padding all in one line. And what this does is it starts off with the top, so it knows that I'm saying, hey, browser, put in a padding of 5 pixels at the top. Then it goes around to the right, so I just put a space, and then drops down to the bottom, so I'm saying 10 pixels on the bottom, and then 10 pixels on the left side. And then I want to put a semicolon and a curly brace. Oh, oopsies. Let's put it down here. Okay. And then I want to put a color. I'd like to put a little color into there. Color, colon. And I'm going to go ahead and make this white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And keep in mind, too, that this is padding for the text itself. So it's going to put space between the text. It should. So let's see what happens. Command S or Control S. And then, see, it gives me a little color, and it kind of knocks it out. But now it didn't really give me any padding in between my nav bar and the text itself. So let's go ahead and style that nav bar. So, and if you can see, I'm kind of just haphazardly putting this stuff here. You can reorganize it so that your divs are all together and your tags are all together, but really, the browser does not care. It just reads it and goes with it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this for navbar. I'm going to style this space. Close that tag while I'm there. And let's go ahead and put in a background color. And again, you can choose this from your hex codes. I'm going to put in, this is where my blue comes in. 3, 4, and then CC should do it. And that should give us a blue color. And then what I want to do is put in a height. Let's go ahead and put in a height of 30 pixels. And then we're going to put in a width. And I'm going to make it the width of the entire wrapper. And I want to give it a little padding on top, and we were talking about this, so that what it does is it drops this down. Drops down that text, so it's not so squishy. padding, and I'm just going to put padding hyphen top, colon, 10 pixels, and let's give her a go. Refresh, and there you have it. We have our navbar right there. And then if I click on one of the links, it brings me to a web page that's not found. Why? Because we haven't created those pages yet. So soon we shall. Okay, so let's go back. And so you can see what this website is looking. It is looking indeed super cool, if I do say so myself. Okay, next. Next step is we want to go ahead and let's put in some content, but what we want to do is be able to place photographs where we want to and then text where we want to. So I'm going to designate 2 spaces, one on the left and one on the right. So what I want to do here is, so I've closed off that division and I've said, hey browser, close off this navbar now, and let's go ahead and create a new div, and let's call it left. And let's go ahead and close that because we want to have a beginning and an end to it. And then let's go ahead and add one for right. Oh, and then let's close that guy off. Command S, and if you hit refresh on this, you'll see that there's nothing there. Why? Because we haven't styled it. We haven't told it what it's going to look like, how big it is, what color it is. If it has a color. It doesn't have to have a color. We're just going to put one there. Next, what we want to do is style it, put a hashtag there, and we're going to say left. And we're going to open and close these tags. And let's go ahead and give left a width. And a lot of this is just trial and error. You just put in some, some numbers, try it out. If it doesn't work, you nudge. You do a lot of nudging here and there to make it fit the way you want to. I'm going to go ahead and give it a height of 400 pixels, just because I can, because it's fun. I'll go ahead and give it a background color. And again, you can go in and grab your text codes. I already did that a little bit earlier. And I'm going to give it a margin of 10 pixels. And what that does is it should set it so that it sets it away from this area right here. Let's save that. Let's go in here and let's hit refresh. And there we have it. So if you set it for 15, it would move this down a little bit and out. I'm just giving it a whole margin so there's a little space. So there's that, and then let's go ahead and do our right side. Right. And then let's go ahead and put in a width of, let's just try 300 pixels. Again, you want to think about, okay, so this is 460 pixels, and this is 300 pixels. That's 760 pixels. Well, how large is our space? If I recall, it was 800 pixels. So we have plenty of space for margins and a little padding. So you want to give yourself that space when you're figuring out your numbers. Because sometimes if you put too much, it's going to drop down. One of your divs will drop to another area. And you'll see what I mean if you do a little bit of experimentation. Okay, and again, I'm going to make this the same height so that they're even as the left div. And let's go ahead and let's say background hyphen color colon, and I'm going to say 6699 cc. And then let's give that a margin of 10 pixels so it has a little bit of space. And don't forget to close your curly brace, and let's see what happens. So we hit refresh, and if you see, look what happens. It drops down. Why? Because what we need to do here is we need to use our float property, because we want it to be set right next to each other, and we need to tell the browser that all these divs need to flow together. So what I'm going to use is the float property. And up here I want to tell this to float left. And then next what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and say float. And you would say right, but you know what? You don't want to float it right. You want to float it left. You want to float it so that it goes left with this space right next to it. So let's go ahead and say left as well so that it goes, okay, let's do this left, and next let's place this in our left space. Okay, and hopefully Apple S, Command S, and it should set it right there. So if we set it to right, which we can, let's give her a try, it's going to right justify it. It's going to set it, and maybe not so much, but it's a good practice to stay with float left and float left on these. Didn't move it at all. I guess if I had a little bit more space, it would have set it. Maybe if I got rid of my margin for a second, it would float it right more, right justified. See what it does? It'll float it up against here, and that's great if that's what you want, but I don't want that. I want it to be flowing right next to the other one. So I'm going to place that back in there, Command S, and there we have it. Okay, and then this is where you can put content. We can go into our div and we can say, let's just put an H3 in there just for the heck of it and say, this is where my groovy photograph will go. And then I say an end tag, Command S, hit refresh, and ta-da! And again, we want to put padding on there, etc. Padding in this div space, but we can get to that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and put a footer, and so div ID, and again we're going to put it outside of this end tag because we are being certain about where our boundaries begin and where they end. So we're going to call this one footer. Again, you can call it what you want, but I'm going to stick with the conventions for easier coding, easier readability, as they say. So there's my footer. Again, come over here, hashtag footer, open curly brace, close curly brace, and then I'm going to go ahead and give that a height of 40 pixels just for fun, and a background hyphen color colon hashtag FF3366. Oh, no, wait, I don't want to do that. That was what it was before up here on my left side. So let's give it another one. And let's say 66CCFF, semicolon. And then a width of, I'm going to try 100%. And what that does is it sets it so that it goes clear across the page. Just says, I'm going to go 100% of whatever you've designated in your biggest space, which is our wrapper. And then one other thing we need to do is, and I'm sure you learned this in Code Academy, is clear. We want to clear everything that is before and after it. So we're going to say clear both, and that means that it won't be trying to get up here by chance if something goes awry. You'll understand that at some point. Clear both, Command S, and let's hit refresh and see if it works. And there it is. If you can see, that width does go 100% across. Right, and then I could always go back in here, and I could say, visit us on Facebook. And I don't have a Facebook page, but what the hey? Oh yeah, and I need to go ahead and give it a tag, so I'll just make it small. Don't forget to end that tag right next to the text. Why? Because we began it right next to the text. And I should hit refresh. And again, it pops up here at the end, and that's where padding comes into play, which is super nice. So that'll do it for this time, and we shall begin with our next lesson on placing photographs, etc., and also creating other pages. Creating other pages is super cinch because all we have to do is save this 4 times as 4 different names and then change the content, and voila, an instant website just out of water.
need to get out, huh?